It happened in an instant. A sharp snap echoed across the crowded cafeteria, followed by stunned silence. All eyes turned toward a trembling girl standing in the middle of the room, her eyes wide with humiliation. Behind her, a smirking group of boys laughed, one of them still holding his hand up like a trophy. They had yanked her bra strap, in front of everyone. Cameras caught it all. But let's rewind, because her story didn't start there. Maya Khan, 16, was the quiet kind of strong. A top student, always polite, and rarely talked unless necessary. She moved through high school halls like a shadow, invisible to most but not to everyone. She didn't dress loudly, didn't hang out with the popular crowd, and didn't share much of her life. But that didn't stop her from being targeted. It started with whispers. A comment here, a laugh there. Then came the notes, the cruel words taped to her locker. Maya did what many do, she ignored it, thinking silence would make it stop. But silence, she would learn, sometimes feeds the fire. The cafeteria incident wasn't spontaneous. It was the peak of weeks of torment by a group of seniors, Rohan, the ringleader, and his friends, Zain, Haider, and Saad. What made it worse? Some of them had once been her classmates in middle school, boys who now treated her like entertainment. Rohan was known for his cocky attitude, always pushing limits for laughs. That day in the cafeteria, they had planned it. One of them distracted the teacher on duty. Another made sure the camera had a clear view. They thought it would be hilarious. A prank. But when Maya felt the sharp snap against her back, and gasps filled the air, something broke inside her, not just her comfort, not just her peace, but her fear. She didn't cry. Not immediately. She stood still, hands trembling, as laughter echoed. The hurt was not just in the action, but in the silence that followed from others. No one helped. Not a single student stepped in. Some lowered their eyes, others looked away. Maya ran straight to the principal's office. For the first time, she didn't stay quiet. She told everything. But the principal, as many do, tried to keep things in school. He said boys will be boys. That it wasn't serious. That they'd talk to them. But Maya had already taken it a step further. On her way to the office, she called her father. Major Asad Khan, retired military, now working in private security. A man who had raised his daughter to never allow herself to be broken by injustice. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. But when he saw the footage from the cafeteria, obtained through a friend in school security, he went straight to the police. And that's when everything changed. The school tried to bury it. They tried to downplay the footage, say it wasn't a big deal. But Major Khan's persistence, backed by the clear, horrifying video, brought media attention. Reporters stood outside the school gates. The footage went viral. People were furious. Parents spoke out. Students shared their stories. And for the first time, the bullies faced consequences. Rohan and his friends were arrested under harassment and assault charges. Their parents hired lawyers, begged for leniency, claimed it was a joke. But the footage made things clear. It wasn't just a joke. It was humiliation. It was planned. It was predatory. Maya was called to testify. Standing in court was terrifying. But she did it. Her voice didn't shake. She told the judge, the audience, and the world what it felt like to be treated as a joke, to be stripped of dignity in front of everyone, and to have no one stand beside her. Until now, the court sentenced the boys to juvenile detention, mandatory counseling, community service. Their records would reflect the severity of their actions. And Maya, she didn't go back to being invisible. Her story became a turning point. The school was forced to implement strict anti-bullying policies. Teachers were retrained. Surveillance and complaint systems were upgraded. More students started speaking out. Maya became an advocate. She joined local awareness groups, sharing her experience to inspire others. Her video testimony, emotional, raw, and brave, reached thousands. Girls and boys who had suffered in silence found the courage to speak. To stand. To fight. Her biggest challenge wasn't the bullying, it was the crushing silence of others. But Maya broke that silence. Her pain became her power. And her story became more than just a headline, it became a movement. Moral of the story: silence protects bullies. But speaking up, no matter how hard, is the first step toward justice. If you ever witness someone being mistreated, don't look away. You might be the voice that saves them. From the moment Emma Williams walked into Ms. Dorsey's 10th grade English class, she blended into the background like ink on a page. She was the girl in the oversized hoodie, with her hair always falling over her face like a curtain drawn shut. She never raised her hand, never spoke unless spoken to, and when she did, her voice trembled like a leaf in the wind. No one really knew much about her. She had transferred in halfway through the school year, right after winter break, and rumors had already begun to circle. She's weird. Probably homeschooled before. Maybe she got expelled. The whispers grew louder each day, louder than Emma ever dared to speak. And then came the bullies. Trisha Miller and her posse, Kayla and Brianna, ruled the school like it was their own personal stage. Trisha, with her perfect blonde curls and ice blue eyes, had been popular since kindergarten. To her, Emma was an easy target. Too quiet to fight back, too invisible for anyone to defend. It started with snide comments. Nice hoodie, grandma's attic. Kayla would laugh. Brianna snapped pictures of Emma eating alone at lunch and posted them on Snapchat with captions like, "Sad little library mouse." Emma said nothing. She kept her head down. But then one Tuesday morning, everything changed. The class was in the middle of reading of Mice and Men. Ms. Dorsey had stepped out to speak with another teacher, leaving the room unsupervised. The moment the door clicked shut, Trisha sauntered over to Emma's desk. "Hey, mute girl," she smirked. "What's the matter? Cat got your voice." Emma didn't look up. She just kept doodling in her notebook, drawing, her only safe space. That's when Trisha reached forward and yanked Emma's hair. Hard. The class gasped. Emma flinched, her face twisting in pain, but still, she said nothing. Until she slowly stood up. Her eyes, for the first time, met Trisha's. And behind those usually timid pupils, something burned. Quietly. Fiercely. "I told you," Emma said softly, "not to touch me." Trisha laughed. "What are you gonna do? Cry?" Emma calmly reached into her backpack and pulled out her phone. She tapped a few buttons. "What are you doing?" Trisha scoffed. "Sending the video," Emma replied. Brianna's jaw dropped. "What video?" Emma turned the screen around. There, clear as daylight, was a perfectly framed video, shot from a second phone tucked behind a pencil case, of Trisha yanking Emma's hair while the others laughed. "I've been recording everything," Emma said. "For weeks." Trisha's face paled. Emma looked directly at her. "And I just sent it to the school board, my lawyer, and the police." Within 15 minutes, the classroom door burst open. Officer Daniels, the school's assigned SRO, school resource officer, entered with Principal Jordan in tow. "Emma," the officer said, "are you okay?" She nodded, barely. The rest of the class watched in stunned silence as Trisha and her friends were pulled out of the room. Later that day, it was all over the school. The bullies had been suspended and, due to the evidence, faced charges of harassment and assault. The whispers turned into applause. People looked at Emma differently now, not with pity or suspicion, but with awe. Behind the quiet girl's silence had been strength, strategy, and a voice louder than any scream. Emma's story spread online, and she chose to speak publicly about it for the first time during a school-wide assembly. She stood at the podium, hands shaking, heart pounding. "I stayed quiet not because I was weak," she said, voice steadying, "but because I was watching. Documenting. Waiting. People like Trisha think silence is consent. But silence can be strategy. And when you speak, make it count." She paused. "If someone is hurting you, physically, emotionally, digitally, you don't have to become loud. You just have to become brave." The audience was silent for a moment, then erupted in applause. After that day, Emma didn't blend into the background anymore. She started a support group for students facing bullying and worked with school administrators to implement stricter anti-bullying protocols. She even published an article in the local newspaper titled, "When the Quiet Speak, the World Listens." But Emma never changed who she was. She still wore her hoodies, still preferred drawing to drama, and still sat at her usual lunch table. Only now, others sat with her. The girl who everyone thought was invisible became the one who showed everyone what true courage looks like.